Welcome back to Okaloosa Today. I'm Doug Rayner with the City of Destin, and we have a really good show for you today. Two really interesting topics. We're going to talk about the city's website in just a little while, but first we have the city's Public Services Director, Steve Schmidt, here with us to talk about some of the projects that we've had going on here recently, and a couple that are about to start, and how that's going to affect our citizens, our residents, and the city as a whole. So thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
I appreciate seeing you again on this show. You have a lot going on. You're on here a lot. So our Public Services Department is really important to our city. And specifically, we'll just kind of get to the meat of what we wanted to discuss is something that just recently took place, and that's Coleman Lake outfall repair. For our residents and the people who have seen this construction and have seen this in the newspaper, tell us a little bit about why we had to do this project.
Well, the existing outfall structure is very old. It was a steel, steel structure. The outfall structure itself was in danger of collapsing, and it actually serves a very large drainage basin for the city. It's actually, the drainage basin is probably at least a quarter of the city. Takes in most of the water from Airport Road, and this is the outfall for all of that. And with the standpipes almost rusted through, and actually one of them was rusted through and in danger of failing completely. If they'd failed, basically it could have been, probably wouldn't have been a cataclysmic event, but it certainly would have been interesting.
So for the significance of our city, the Coleman Lake was kind of like a catch pond for a really large area that was draining into there, and then that drains into Joe's Bayou, right?
Yep, it's the outfall into Joe's Bayou that takes the water from all the areas around Coleman Lake, Kellair, in the Kellair ditch basically that goes under Airport Road. The drainage area is bounded on the south to a point just north of 98. So it's a very significant area of the city of Destin.
Well, for all of our residents that watched this take place and saw it in the newspaper, how big of a project was this in scope? I mean, was it a major undertaking for our Public Services Department?
It was. It wasn't one of the most expensive. I think the final tally's in the $80,000 range, but in terms of the expense. But it was a very difficult project, as you can imagine, especially considering that it was an outfall into Joe's Bayou that had tidal fluctuations. We had to maintain the stormwater outfall during the project, and so there were a lot of challenges with the project. And so in terms of degree of difficulty, it certainly ranked up there.
Okay, and it seemed to have gone pretty smoothly based on what we've seen, and the finished result is very nice, not just aesthetically, but the structure's better too. I mean, how did you come up with that look and that design as opposed to the old process and design? Well,
rather than, we didn't want to wing this one. We went out for an engineering design for it. So we had one of our local engineers, Garver Inc., basically did the engineering design for us, and of course with input, but we wanted a structure that was going to last for our lifetimes, and was going to ensure that we didn't have to go out there and do any work anytime in the near future. So we think this is really a very substantial structure. It's very well engineered. It's very well constructed. We don't think we're going to have a problem with this outfall for quite some time.
Yeah, by the looks of it, and me not knowing anything about that kind of stuff, if I just take a look at it, I'd certainly say it's there to stay. So great project and great job. And you mentioned the cost, but you also mentioned before we came on that it was under budget. So that's kudos to you and your staff for doing that for us.
Thank you.
The other thing we want to get into is a project that's upcoming that'll impact a good many of our residents as far as travel and things like that in the back roads. It's Kelly Street, and I have it written down as Kelly Street resurfacing, but it's a whole lot more than resurfacing. Kind of tell us a little bit about why we're going to do the work on Kelly Street and what we're going to do on Kelly Street.
Well, Kelly Street's it's an older street, and it's got some areas where we're starting to get some pavement failures. An engineer calls it transverse cracking and alligator cracking and longitudinal cracking and that sort of thing. So the road's not in great shape. It's serviceable, but our goal in the city is to try to upgrade some of our roadways, and this one being so close to the school is especially important to multimodal standards. And what we're doing is we're actually building it back with bike lanes on both sides of the streets. We're paving the sidewalks to 10-foot multi-use sidewalks on both sides of the street. So it's going to give both pedestrians and bike riders and that sort of thing, a lot more access east-west, and ultimately we'll extend it further to the west, and we'll have you know, a multimodal roadway on Kelly Street from one end to the other.
Okay. The construction part is really similar to the Mountain Drive project, is that right?
Yes, it is. The difference between Mountain Drive and Kelly Street is we actually have a wider right-of-way for Kelly Street. We were really constrained on Mountain Drive, so we were only able to put a 10-foot sidewalk on one side of the street. On Kelly, we're actually going to get a 10-foot sidewalk on both sides of the street, and we'll still have some room for drainage swales where we won't have to put drainage structures underground like we did with Mountain Drive. So it's not going to be nearly as expensive a project, and it's going to have a little wider feel to it, and more access on both sides.
Okay. Where is this exactly? Kelly Street's pretty long. It's between Beach and Main, is that correct?
Yeah, the segment that we're doing this time is between Beach and Main, and we're very sensitive to the fact that school's starting about I believe it's August 20th. So we're trying to get the school end done, the Main Street, I'm sorry, the Beach Street end of it done prior to the eastern side. So we'll try to work from the school back, and hopefully we'll be out of the intersection area at least for the school before school starts.
Well, good. We know you guys will work hard at that. We want to get to another topic real quick. And also for Kelly Street, we want to make sure that people can go to the city's website, cityofdestin.com, to get updates on Kelly Street. There'll be some lane closures and things like that. We're not planning on closing off the road completely, but there will be some construction and some slowing down of that area. So be sure to check the city's website, cityofdestin.com, for updates on that one. The other thing we wanted to talk about is our Marler Street parking lot. We built a boardwalk. We've got an influx of people there. We've got a lot of people here during the summer. Marler Street parking lot has been cleared, and I think we've even touched on that before on this show, but what are we doing right now to try to get people in there?
Well, right now we've got 100 wheel stops that we've ordered, and we're about to start putting those down. In fact, we're laying it out this week. And so for the interim period, we're going to put some wheel stops in there. It's not going to be paved and delineated for parking spaces, but at least we'll have some wheel stops in some areas where you can obviously park. You know, long term on the parking lot, basically what we want to do is go ahead and improve it as a paved parking lot with city, meeting city requirements for lighting and stormwater and access. We'll have multimodal sidewalks around it. We'll have better signage, clear access, stormwater detention areas. It'll meet all the city's standards and codes, and be a lot more inviting as a parking lot. And I believe there's 147 spaces on our design.
Well, that's great. I know the businesses on the south side of 98 and even on the north side that are struggling with parking spaces because of the amount of people we have here will appreciate that. And I think we saw that there's some parking signs have come up now directing people into the parking lot, inviting them in there. I know the parking signs are up. We'll do some public information and try to get the word out that we want people to park in there also.
Yeah, we've got a couple of the little blue signs up, the blue little square blue signs with a P, that shows where the access or the entrance to the parking lot is on Marler Street. And there's a couple signs out on 98 that let you know that it's coming up, so people will be looking for it. Right now it just looks like a big vacant lot, and that's one of the drawbacks. One of the reasons you pave it and put stripes on it is so that it's really obvious where people are supposed to park. And so right now they're kind of parking around the perimeter, and it's not the most efficient use of the space.
Well, this is great, and we're clearly moving forward, even in some tough budget times and tough economic times, making ends meet and making do with what we have. So I know our residents are appreciative, and I think our visitors will appreciate a lot of this too. These are great updates, and want to thank you very much for coming on and letting us see what's going on in the city. Want to make sure that people can check back on the city's website, cityofdestin.com, for updates on all these projects that Steve was talking about. And again, we just want to thank you, and we want you to stay tuned. We'll be right back to take a look at the city's new website.